Joshua and Karen got married when they were already graduating from college. They looked great together, and they knew exactly what they wanted out of life. Joshua, as one of the best graduates, got a good job with a prospect of career advancement, and Karen got a job as an accountant in a cosmetics company. And although they had not yet achieved everything they had dreamed of, but they could already afford a lot. The couple spent their vacations at seaside resorts, went to elite sports clubs to keep in shape, and often had dinner in nice, expensive restaurants. They lived in a rented apartment, but had already managed to set aside a substantial sum to buy a house. Karen literally saw how in a few years they would live in their own house, buy more prestigious cars, Joshua would get a promotion, and they could finally plan to have a baby. But not everything in life happens the way we dream. One day, Karen got a call from Joshua's colleague. "Don't worry, it turns out the handrails weren't fixed there. They took him to the 4th City Clinic. The doctors say there's hope." From his confused story, Karen realized that her husband had fallen from a great height in the plant, and now he was in the hospital with a serious spinal injury. Joshua ended up in the trauma department, where he underwent a complicated surgery and a long, painful recovery period followed. The hospital was at the other end of the city, and Karen could not visit her husband often. But mothers and wives of other patients felt sorry for Joshua and always served him fallen books, treated him with homemade food, and when he began to get up, helped him to walk from the bed to the door and back. When he was discharged, the doctors warned that it would take a lot of time, effort and money to fully restore the function of the spine. Joshua needed good medications, therapeutic massage, and a special set of exercises, and a sanatorium treatment was recommended. The injury that Joshua received left him unable to work, and the compensation he received was barely enough for a full treatment. The family's way of life changed. Restaurants and other forms of entertainment became a distant memory. Karen could no longer buy things for herself in the stores where she was used to. If she wanted to renew her closet, she had to attend sales and look for items that were sold discounted. And summer was ahead, and going to the desired Spain was now like flying to another planet. An absolutely unattainable dream. "Is this a life?" thought Karen wistfully. She tried to save money on household chores, but it didn't work out so well. She was not at all ready to make a menu of cheap products and stand at the stove. She was increasingly irritated by the fact that all their earnings should be given to pay for the apartment, food, and medicine for Joshua. The woman more and more often came to the conclusion that such a life did not suit her, and she was especially depressed by the fact that Joshua was not much use to her now, and besides, her husband's condition required great effort and care from her, which she was clearly not prepared for. After all, he is the man, the head of the family. He must do everything, that we do not need anything. Otherwise it is hopeless. Karen cried into her pillow at night, and soon she began to demand from her husband to find a normal part-time job, so as not to be idle at home. "I can't sit yet," said Joshua confusedly, and indeed the doctors allowed him to stand for no more than 2 hours a day and lie down the rest of the time. When his back was overloaded, he had unbearable pains that no medicine could relieve. Still, Joshua tried to do what he could and took on various projects for construction companies. But it was not enough for Karen. Finally, the moment came when the woman began to spend the savings that they had accumulated for their future house. But she spent it not only on clothes and beauty salons. Over time, the woman became addicted to an expensive, strong alcohol, without which she could not get through the day, and it seemed to her the only way that she could tolerate her useless husband. Karen's birthday was approaching, and the woman decided to celebrate her 30th birthday at a country restaurant on the banks of the river, as she had long planned. She booked the hall, bought an expensive, beautiful dress, and invited many guests, most of whom had no idea about the changes in the couple's life. Friends and acquaintances congratulated Karen, gave her expensive gifts, raised their glasses in her honour, and the tables were overflowing with all kinds of snacks. But Karen did not feel the excitement she had hoped for. As usual, she drank a large glass of cognac before the party began, but it did not calm her down. On the contrary, it made her more irritable. She was especially depressed by the sight of Joshua. The badly slimmed down, pale man looked bad, but tried to stay cheerful. Joshua could present his wife with only modest gold earrings and the traditional bouquet of daisies honouring the day that they had met. Then they were still poor students, and on their first date, Joshua had given Karen daisies. It had become a good tradition, but this time Karen was not delighted. "And where should I put this lousy bouquet?" she reproached her husband. "I'm ashamed to keep it next to the other gorgeous flowers." "Give it to me," said Laura, Karen's friend. "They're so cute. I'll ask the waiter for a vase and let them stand on my table." When everyone sat down for dinner, Karen, seeing Joshua put a salad and various delicacies on his plate, could not refrain from rebuking him. "You have not earned money for such food," she said sharply, and took the plate from Joshua. "There, have some potatoes and cucumbers. That's all you can afford." Joshua understood that his wife was already very drunk and probably didn't understand what she had said, so she didn't know how Karen's words had offended him. He decided not to ruin the party and left the conversation with his wife until the next morning. Choosing a moment, the man got up from the table and left the restaurant. Joshua slowly walked along the highway to the bus stop, when suddenly he heard the noise of a car. "Get in, I'll give you a ride," called out to him Laura. "Everyone there is already drunk, and I also decided that I have nothing to do there." "Thank you," Joshua said and got in the car. "Only I don't know where I should go now. Karen has the keys and I don't want to sit under the roof until morning," he added after a moment's pause. Laura looked at him seriously and pressed the gas pedal. On the way, the girls stopped at the supermarket and bought ice cream. "You and I were left without dessert," she explained. "Let's go to my place. You've never been there yet." Laura lived on the outskirts of town in a small, cosy apartment. They were sitting at the table talking, and the girl noticed that Joshua looked exhausted. She offered him to lie down and rest while she would make tea, and he agreed. Not 5 minutes later, Joshua fell into a deep sleep. He woke up only in the morning and was surprised to realize that for the first time in a long time he felt rested. He had never felt this way at home. He decided to call Karen right away, hoping that his wife had already come to her senses after yesterday and would want to apologize. "Is there anything you want to tell me?" asked Joshua when Karen picked up the phone. "You know everything yourself," she said irritably. "From a man, you turned into a sponger. I don't earn enough to support you. Go wherever you want, but you won't live off me any more," she added, and hung up. Joshua was shocked. When he arrived home, he found 2 sports bags at the entrance in which Karen had put all his things. Apparently, she had no doubt that Joshua would not claim either the jointly acquired property or the money they had saved for the house, and she was not going to give him the keys to the car too. Joshua called a cab and went back to Laura's place because he had nowhere else to go. His parents were far away, and he did not want to share the details of his unsuccessful family life with his friends. He thought of going to a hotel after visiting Laura, but the woman offered him to stay with her until he had a better time. At first, Joshua and Laura were like friends, but soon their relationship reached a new level, making them the closest people. Joshua was quickly on the mend, was able to recover fully, and returned to his old job, where he was very welcome. 3 months passed. Karen and Joshua divorced. The procedure was quick and without mutual claims of the parties. Seeing Laura next to her former spouse, Karen only grinned, imagining what an unenviable fate she condemned herself to. Soon, Joshua and Laura got married. After a modest ceremony, the newlyweds went to rest at the camping site in a national park, where they spent several unforgettable weeks. They wandered through the woods, admired the beauty of local lakes and rivers, and after their vacation, Laura discovered that she was pregnant. When their son was born, there was another joyful event in the family. Joshua became deputy head engineer of the company. The long-awaited position brought material well-being. Although the couple spent many happy days in Laura's modest apartment, they thought about moving to a larger home. And they made their dream come true when their son went to school. One day, the whole family went to the city park to enjoy rides, eat ice cream, and just take a walk. The son ran ahead, and Joshua and Laura walked behind, holding hands, and talked. Suddenly the boy came back. "Mum, Dad, can you please give me some money? There's some hungry old lady out there asking for money for some bread," he said excitedly, and grabbing his father by the hand, he led him forward. Not far away, near one of the kiosks with cakes, a scruffy-looking woman in dirty, shabby clothes, with a face swollen from the constant consumption of alcohol, was standing there. Joshua looked at her and was surprised to recognize Karen in her. Chronic alcoholism had really turned the young woman into an ugly old woman, and Joshua suddenly felt sorry for her. He took out a bill, silently put it in her hand, and hurried to leave. Karen was looking after this happy family for a long time, and tears streamed down her cheeks.